What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Series 12 video, but this time we're not going to do team building or team fixing just yet. We got a bunch of videos lined up for those, but right now what I want to do is to do what some other people have been doing, and that is a tier list for the restricteds for Series 12. So before we even start clicking and dragging all these restricted Pokemon in their respective tiers based on what I think, let's go ahead and let's explain what these tiers are. So S tier at the top is what we consider the best of the best, the strongest of the strongest, the crème de la crème of the restricteds, and then generally these are like this is what is the baseline for the meta. Like, can you beat these Pokemon, right? You have to build your team not only to support your restricted, but at least have an answer to some of the more popular threats. And the S tier is the dominant of the dominant, right? So going from there, we have the A tier, which I consider very, very strong options. Not quite busted as the S tier, but just close to it, but again, very strong options that you can have on your team. Very splashable. You can use them on a few different kinds of teams and compositions. So overall, they just make a very solid restricted. Not too many drawbacks, just very few weaknesses that you can patch up with the rest of your squad. So that's the A tier. And then something that I did a little different is, instead of just having one B tier, I kind of split it up into what I call the high B tier and the low B tier. So high B tier is something like above average, what we call, it's solid. That's what I have here as a description. It's a solid option. Can you win a tournament with it? Yeah. You would have to get, a little bit lucky and have outstanding play. Not that you don't have to do that with any other team that you would use, but these are solid options, not as good as, of course, the S or the A tier. They have a few noticeable weaknesses, but again, very, very solid picks if you want to build your team using said restricted, right? And then we have the low B tier, where still good, but they're viable, but they're just not as great as the SA or the high B tier. High B tier is almost A tier, but low B tier is literally, yes, you are a B tier restricted. You are not as good as some of the others, but you are still better than a lot of the rest. That's what we call it. We call it, it's buyable. You can get positive record on ladder with these kinds of restricted, and you can even top cut with them. But they just have quite a few noticeable weaknesses, where because of those said weaknesses, you have to put them in a low B tier. All right, then we go down to the C tier, where these restricteds, they just have one good niche. They're good on one good team, but that's it. Not splashable whatsoever. They just have literally one job, and then they have a bunch of weaknesses. So you can use it, but why would you use them when you have better options in the A, B, in the A, the S tier, and the high B and low B tier, right? So that's what we call the C tier. Usable, but why would you? Because you have better, options again. So then the D tier, this is what I just like to simply call it. It's just not good. Don't even consider using it. It's just not good. It's whether it's a lack of speed tier, a lack of damage, or lack of compatibility with the other restricteds, or it just gets walled by everything that's on the list. That's what we call it. Not good. And then here, the base forms, this is what we call again, this is the non-usable tier. That's what I meant. The base forms, there's no reason to use them when you can use their more what we call evolved form. But yeah, that's an explanation of our tiers. So let's just go ahead and get started ranking them. All right, so we're off to a interesting start with the video, where we have to start with Mewtwo. And unfortunately, me being a 90s kid, we grew up with Mewtwo, right? This was our first legendary that we got our hands on, from the original 150 Pokemon, but it's just not good. I mean, if you were to look at its stats real quick, as soon as my browser loads up, oh, there we go. So if wait, that's Kyogre, sorry. Let's just put Mewtwo here, and you can see that it's okay, the stats are pretty good in a way, where like you have base 154 special attack, base 130 speed, so that's pretty cool. And your HP is okay, but your defenses are by no means bad. Like 90-90, that's pretty good. So now where's the problem? The problem is in the typing. The fact that you have just, psychic typing is just bad defensively. You just lose to, Calyrex Shadow. You lose to, even something like a Dragapult, or something like with a dark move. Ivelto is another one you just hard lose to. Why would you use this when you can use like Calyrex Shadow? Once Calyrex Shadow was introduced into Pokemon, Mewtwo just completely died off the face of the earth. Now, but having said that, the one thing that Mewtwo has going for it is its wide range of move pool. Like it gets some good moves, and I've seen some stuff in the past where you would have like Flamethrower, Hurricane, a move like your Psychic Stab, like Psy Strike, and then Protect, and then something like Life Orb. Something like Life Orb. And then you might say, oh, well, Max Airstream, Max Flare, stick this on a Sun team with something like Groudon, and then, Venusaur, and then like Charizard, and then maybe you can count. Maybe you can stop a little bit of that Calyrex weakness with something like a Grimmsnarl, and then like Incineroar, right? And then now you have what's called a Mewtwo Sun team, right, with Groudon. And you know what? I could probably win a couple games with this on ladder, but would I bring Mewtwo to a lot of those games? I don't know. But again, the thing is, like, why would you even use this when you can just use something like Zacian, right? And then now you've got like a big Sun team, right? So something like this. So there's just no reason to use Mewtwo, and for that reason, we're putting it in the D tier. So let me just quickly delete this. So yeah, that's Mewtwo here. And then again, here we go. Same kind of reason, Lugia. So we're starting off with some whoppers here. So Lugia, almost the same reason. You grew up, you like Gen 2, you played Golden Server, you thought Lugia was the coolest Pokemon ever, and just like Mewtwo, unfortunately that psychic typing just doesn't do anything for it. Like I get no real benefit from that. Maybe I can snipe Venusaur. Yeah, I got Max Airstream, base 110 speed, that's pretty good. The bulk is amazing. I like the bulk, and then you can have something like weakness policy on this thing. But like, look at this damage, base 90, and then like if I'm modest, let's say I'm modest, and then max attack like 156. There are some restricteds out there that don't need any special attack investment, and then they still deal more damage than Lugia. And I'll give an example. Like, I don't know, what's a good special attacker here? Like, okay, we can look at Kyogre. I mean, look, 170. This thing does already more damage than Lugia. I think Joe showed this one time in his video, in his own tier list. Like, I think that's kind of stupid. The fact that you have a special attacker that with no special attack investment already out damages Lugia with max special attack and max and then with the modest nature, I think that's kind of dumb. So like, there's no reason for this. Like, yeah, you can have like Aeroblast and then Earth Power, and then stay bulky with like Calm Mind, and then like either Recover or Protect, and then maybe, I don't know, put this with something like Zacian and then a Sun team. But again, why would you use Lugia on something like that when you have like better options? So unfortunately, you just get destroyed by Ivelto, you get destroyed by Calyrex Shadow. And then other things are running like dark moves. Like there's now like Blastoise with like Assault Vest, Dark Pulse. Now there's Porygon with dark moves now. So everything has like a dark move to counter Calyrex Shadow, and by default you counter Mewtwo and Lugia, and they're just worse than Calyrex Shadow in general. So for that, we're putting them in the D tier. So very sad. Maybe one day they'll see better days, but that day is not today. So moving on. Okay, so this is a little better. So now we have HoOh. Okay, so anytime where you as a Pokemon, you are a good check to Zacian, there is use for you in the meta. Like you can win games with HoOh, right? Because Fire Flying typing, you can wall Zacian's Behemoth Blade, you can wall Zacian's fighting move of Close Combat Sacred Sword. And even the fairy move doesn't do anything, right? Play rough. So you have some viability. Okay. The problem with HoOh is, yes, you can do some damage and make some noise against those Zacian teams, but you just lose to like almost everything else. Like Kyogre, what are you gonna do? You need something like Gastrodon on your team or Lapras to be able to handle Kyogre. I mean, you can't beat Pakia. You can't do much to Diago. Basically, any dragon you can't really do too much to, because dragon typing resists you. Zerny, I mean, you just get Intimidate Span from Incineroar. You get Intimidate Span from Landorus. And then Landorus runs a rock move. Groudon runs a rock move. So, like, you know, in the end, I mean, even Zygarde, you can't beat because of 1,000 Arrows. So things with, there's a lot of rock type moves in the meta, and then, you know, HoOh just doesn't like it. So, I mean, it's usable. You know, you could partner it with something that's weak to ground. So this way you can like almost, you know, counterbalance that weakness. You know, you might even do like HoOh Sun teams with Groudon and Charizard, but then like you would just have like another fire flying typing on the team. You probably wouldn't even use Charizard. You would do just something else. But, you know, HoOh Sun teams is a thing. HoOh Zacian is not bad. HoOh Dialga maybe, but even then, like, these are just not that great of compositions. But there is some use for HoOh, right? You know, as long as you got some answer to Zacian, you can do something. So, you know, it's not too bad against Venusaur either, especially if you give this thing, you know, safety goggles. So it's not bad. It's just not as good as some of the others. All right, now moving forward. Okay, here we go. Here's our next restricted, and here's one of the S tiers. So now we have Kyogre, right? This is what, like, when you're team building, right? This is one of the first things you're thinking about when trying to build your squads. How can I stop Kyogre teams? And the reason why Kyogre is really good, well, let's just take a look at it. So we were looking at it earlier. So Kyogre, again, you know, you have the rain, base 150 special attack, very bulky. Look at 140 base special defense, and then that speed makes it so that, you know, it's pretty good on Tailwind teams. And then also you can run slow Kyogre teams. That Calm Mind bulky set that's normally on Trick Room teams is popping up, and it started in the, you know, I believe in the World Cup, and now it's a little bit more common. So if you have something like Tornadus, and then you could just splash on your steel type like Zacian, and then, you know, from here you have the very standard 6, Ensign, Regieleki, and then I think it's something like Amoonguss. This is like the standard 6, and then you might even like modify this a little bit. You might do like, you know, Prankster Thundurus, for example, or maybe even like Zapdos. Okay, and then instead of Amoonguss, you might do something like Rillaboom for your grass type. But the point is that, you know, Kyogre is very, very strong with Tornadus, and then, you know, you just slap on a Zacian, and then now you got one of the strongest hyper offensive teams that you can possibly build. And then, you know, it's also good with something like Calyrex Ice. It's really good with. Here, let's just take a look at that. Yeah, so like Calyrex Ice, where you would run that bulky Calm Mind set. You know, Calm Mind, Protect, and then they don't even run Water Spout. They just run Origin Pulse, and then they run something like Ice Beam, right? And then you could just slap on like Venusaur, Torkoal, and then, you know, like Incineroar and some other filler mon, you know, something like this. And then now you're quite good. So like you can also put like with steel types. So like, again, we mentioned Zacian. Kyogre Dialga is also interesting. You could put with, what's the other steel type? Pakia Zacian. Pakia Kyogre is pretty good, because then you can boost Palkia's water damage. That's good. You've got Solgaleo, which is one of my favorite combinations. More on that when we get to it. So yeah, that's pretty good because you can, you know, reduce the fire damage. Pakia, sorry, I keep saying Pakia. Ivelto Kyogre is pretty good because then you can max this, go for max darkness, and then, you know, reduce special defenses, and then Kyogre hits like a truck. So like, Kyogre is very splashable on a lot of teams, right? Even like, no, that's not true. Not Zamasu, but like, oh, Necros, but this one is just not as good. So yeah, I mean, again, you know, just to be able to deal that much damage and then have, either Trick Room or Tailwind on your team, and then just being able to be splashable on a lot of teams, because this is like your water typing. So a lot of the dragon teams, like with dragon restricteds, you know, they'll probably go for like, you know, Dragon, Fairy, Steel, Fire, Water, Grass, and their water option is Kyogre. So, you know, yeah, for that reason, Kyogre is an S tier. It's one of the things you have to plan for when you're building. So what's next? Okay, here we go. So Groudon, his counterpart. So, you know, I want to put Groudon in the S, right? Because some teams are so good, but I'm just gonna put it. I'm gonna put it as like a high A tier, and I think that's fair for Groudon, because unlike Water Spout, Precipice Blades can miss a little bit. You can get Intimidate spammed by something like Landorus or Incineroar, but then, you know, the whole strength of Groudon is you enable your partners, right? Because that's the reason why it's so good. You get strong partners when you pick Groudon. So just really quick, you know, you can have Groudon and then you get these two things. I almost put it as an item. Then you get Venusaur, right? And then you get Zard, right? The Gen 1 starters. And you could win almost every game with just these two. And then something like, you know, Incin, and then you choose your next restricted, like Zacian on a Sun team, and then a filler like Regieleki, Grimmsnarl, whatever, you know, something like this. And you know, who's maxing here? The Venusaur and the Charizard, right? And what lets them max? The fact that you have Groudon to switch in. So, you know, and then you partner this with something like Zacian, and now you're really good. And then Groudon, not just, you know, with Zacian and not just with Venusaur and Charizard, you could use Groudon with a few other restricteds. Like you can do Cali Ice, it's not bad. You can do Calyrex Shadow, that's also pretty good, because then you can go for, you know, max Phantasm, get defense drops, and then Groudon capitalizes off of that. You can do a little Dialga. There was a Dialga Sun team that I remember making in Series 11 that was actually not too bad, but even then it's like But you could actually do like dual weather with Kyogre and Groudon. That's also pretty cool. You could do a little HoOh, that's not bad. Lunala, okay, this one is at, we'll talk more about this combo when we actually get to Lunala, but yeah, Lunala is another one. What else? Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, you could do like Ivelto and Groudon. That one's also good. And again, we'll talk about this combo when we actually reach Ivelto. But yeah, just like Kyogre, it's splashable on a lot of things. Maybe not as much as Kyogre, but you know, it's really good. And the fact that it's very bulky and does a lot of damage, and then you can run a recovery item like Citrus Berry. So here's like a normal moveset: Precipice Blades, Rock Slide, Swords Dance, and then, you know, Protect. You know, something very standard. And you know, you can get like those Airstream boosts from your Charizard. You can even run like a slow Trick Room variant with Lunala, and yeah, you got a pretty good restricted in Groudon. And you don't even have to max the Groudon, you know, because you're maxing the partners, not really the Groudon. Anytime you have a restricted that doesn't need to Dynamax to be good, you know you got a good restricted. All right, if you have a restricted that needs Dynamax to be good, it's probably not that great. All right, so moving on here. So okay, now we have Rayquaza, the counter, sort of speak, to the weather. And you know, I mean, of course we want Rayquaza to be good, right? Because it's got a cool design. I think it's like top 3, one of the coolest looking restricteds, especially like that black shiny form. But I think I don't think it's that amazing. I think what's good is the special kind of Rayquaza, because if you're physical, then you just get like Intimidate cycled all day long, and we can't be having that from Landorus and Incineroar. And then, you know, the when it lost its primal, that really hurt it a lot, because we don't really have too much going for it other than like a good max Airstream. But I'll tell you something that's actually kind of cool. So you can run this with Zacian, right? And I was thinking about it, and I think who did this comp? I think Marco did it. I want to say he did it. But what's cool about this? Okay, look, you got Rayquaza, Zacian, right? So you got your Dragon and then your Fairy / Steel. So this is like almost like your Fantasy Core. And you know, Zacian's weak to ground, but then you have Rayquaza, which is a flying type, so you can pivot out from like max Quakes and stuff. And then you can go for, you know, Airstreams and boost up your Zacian speed. And then from here you can just support with like, you know, Incineroar. you know, for Intimidate spam, you can go Blastoise with Amoonguss, right? And then something like Landorus. I like, if I had to try and do Zacian Rayquaza, this is the 6 I would use, right? Because you know, the Blastoise, you can set up Shell Smash with Amoonguss redirection. You can do Swords Dance Landorus next to Amoonguss, and Landorus is really good against Sun teams. The Rayquaza can take away, again, the Sun and the Rain, so then therefore, you know, your Blastoise and your Zacian can actually do some damage. So like, your max options can be Rayquaza, Blastoise, and Landorus. And I think this 6 is kind of solid. Like, this is what I mean. You know, can this team work? Yeah. What, can I win games on ladder with it? Yeah. But then I have better options than just Rayquaza, right? I could do something like another dragon that's better in this sense. So, but yeah, at least it's usable, but it's just not great, you know. But back to this, what I would do is I would use the special variant, so at least I can't get intimidated. So I would go like Hurricane for that max airstream. What else would I do? I could do like Earth Power and then something like Draco Meteor and then Protect, right? So something like this where, you know, I can get Spadef boosts, and then, you know, again, that max airstream is always nice. And then I have Life Orb, so pretty cool there. But yeah, moving on. So now we have Dialga, right? Okay, I do like Dialga. I've always liked Dialga. When we started Series 11, I thought, you know, Dialga could be really good because you got Dynamax back. But that's the thing, right? You need Dynamax to, you know, be like really good with Dialga. So for that reason, you know, we're gonna put it pretty up there, but not like too up there. And the advantage of Dialga is this. So let me get rid of all of this. Like, okay, I keep clicking import. Let me put Dialga in my showdown here. So I keep building teams, right? So I have to like keep deleting them. So the advantage of Dialga is, you know, look at this bulk, and you know, there's that base 90 speed tier. So like Trick Room teams are pretty good, gonna use it. Tailwind is also pretty good. Base 150 special attack is really good, and then like again, this bulk is really, really nice. But the advantage of Dialga is that move pool that it has. So you can have something like Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, and then, you know, you could have something like Earth Power for that max Quake boost. You could have your stab move, Flash Cannon. You can have, you know, Draco Meteor. So like, you can't run all these moves. So basically you would have to have options on your team where you cover some of these, and this way you can settle on a good 3 or 4 moveset. But like, the fact that you get all this coverage, you know, makes it so that you have a place in the meta. So like, you can answer a lot. And, you know, if you have something like a Life Orb on your Dialga, then now you have big damage incoming. So it covers a lot in the meta, but you know, you maybe can run it with something like Groudon. You know, you are weak to fighting, so you have to be careful of something like Urshifu. But you know, it's still solid. Like, you know, the bulk is good, the typing is not too bad. Steel Dragon, so it really helps against like fairy stuff. And then, you know, with Flash Cannon and Earth Power, you can get max Steel Spike, max Quake boost. And if you run it with like a flying restricted, like an Ivelto, like I could see this working, like Ivelto, Dialga, right? So it's max airstream, special defense drops. Dialga can do some damage. You can even steal. You could do like Flash Cannon and then, you know, Earth Power. So then you could max Steel Spike and max Quake next to your own Ivelto and boost that up. And now Ivelto just sits there with all those special defense and defense boosts, and it just sits there and becomes annoying with snarl spam and stuff like that. So I could see something like this working. I may explore this. I actually just thought of this now. I didn't consider it, but maybe it has some weaknesses that I'm not aware of. Yeah, like if it has Groudon and Rock Slide could actually do something against it. So maybe I'll think more. But yeah, that's also kind of cool. What's also nice is this with Kyogre. I thought this was kind of cool, like Dialga Kyogre. And then it was brought to my attention, like when I was doing like a team fixing session, you know, something with not Gothorita, like Gothitelle. And then you could run like Ursh, and then something like Regieleki, and then maybe run the Life Orb on the Aleki, and then, you know, just trap things with Gothitelle and even Kyogre, and then just click either Water Spout if they lead poorly, or, you know, use Dialga's coverage to its advantage with Gothitelle, and then you could run Trick Room on this. and then, for example, right, because Dialga likes Trick Room, and then now they can't switch out because Dialga has so much coverage, and you know, it just dies. So something like this could be good. This trio, I don't know about the rest of the team just yet, but like I kind of like this. I've seen it done before when I was doing my research, but yeah, for that reason, we're gonna put Dialga in either the high B or the low B. You know what? All right, I'm gonna put it in like the highest of the low Bs. All right, so I think that's fair. So like it's good, you know, it's just not good as, you know, something like a Groudon or a Kyogre, but I think that's fair. I think it's better than like, you know, HoOh or Rayquaza, but you know, it's just not as good as Kyogre or Groudon because again, it has like that more centered niche versus like where, you know, Groudon and Kyogre are very splashable and very useful on almost a lot of teams. So there. All right, next. This is one of the ones I was waiting for. This one, Pakia, this to me goes right here in the A tier, right? I know some people are putting it in like B tier. Some of them even dared to put it in C, but for me, this is like an A tier. And let me tell you why. Let's look at this. And I've been using Pakia quite a bit. And so this water dragon typing. So first of all, you wall Kyogre. Kyogre can't do anything to you. Even if Kyogre has an electric move or an ice move, it's only neutral and it's non-stab. And Pakia's bulk is special defense bulk is amazing. That does nothing. So Kyogre is not doing that much. And then the steel moves also because of that water typing. So you wall Zacian's Behemoth Blade, its strongest attack. So and by this, you're forcing Zacian to give up a move slot for play rough, and more Zacians are going to be doing that too, right? Because Ivelto is more common now, and you know there's a lot more dragon restricteds on teams because you're allowed a second restricted slot. So now Zacian's forced to run fairy moves. So then in that regard, now you have to try and support your Pakia with like other stuff on your team. But like, you know, Pakia Zacian is really good. You know, like, you know, that you have your Dragon Fairy Steel core, and then you just round it out with like other stuff, you know, for speed control, and you know, you could still build around cores with this. But like Pakia Zacian is really good. And again, just like Diago, you have a pretty cool move pool. You have access to Ice Beam. You have access to Thunderbolt. You even have access to Flamethrower. All right, and then you can have your Dragon Stab like Draco Meteor, or no, I'm sorry, Spatial Rend is the one you want, right? Because of the crit. And then you also have stuff like Earth Power. Okay, so you also get a pretty good move pool, just like Diago. But Diago also gets like a rock move. I think it gets like Power Gem or something like that. But yeah, Pakia is really bulky, and you can't intimidate it because you're a special attacker, and you know you could stick like a Life Orb on this, and it's really good. So you could wall Zacian, you could wall Kyogre. You do well against Sun, because you know you could change the weather with your Max Geyser. You can do super effective damage to Charizard and Groudon, and even like Venusaur is only neutral damage. And then you have, if you click like Max Hailstorm on Venusaur, it just dies, right? So, you know, it's really good. You can even do like, and I'll talk more about this when I get to it, but like Pakia Solgaleo is another good one. If you could just like, you know, boost its bulk with, you know, Max Quake and Max Steel Spikes. And the thing is, you know, Pakia gets Telepathy. Where is this? Yeah, Telepathy, and then Solgaleo gets something like Earthquake. So this combination is also really good. And then you could set the rain, and then Solgaleo's fire weakness gets mitigated. So yeah, I really like Pakia. I think Pakia Zacian or Pakia plus a steel type is always very good. And I'm going to put it up here in the very strong tier. All right. So then moving forward, okay, this one, all right, not this one, but this one is a little better because, okay, let's look at this one, the Giratinas, right? So one thing, when you think of Giratina, you think a lot of bulk because actually the other one has more bulk. This one, well, technically this one is also bulky. Like base 150 HP is really good, and then the defenses are amazing too, right? And the Ghost Dragon typing is, okay, the Ghost typing is the one that kind of hurts it a little bit, but you're a Dragon type and then you have Levitate, right? So Groudon can't really hit you with Precipice Blades, right? Because you have Levitate. and then, you know, Charizard can't do that much damage. Venusaur can't do that much damage, and then Zacian's Behemoth, well, okay, that one can. Yeah, again, you're forcing Zacian to run Play Rough, and then Kyogre can't do that much. So you almost, to a degree, wall, you know, a lot of the weather cores, which is good in that sense. But the problem here is now, you know, when you're looking at other mons, like Calyrex Shadow just destroys it. Ivelto, if it's down here somewhere, just destroys it. Zacian Play Rough just destroys it. And those three are like in the top 5 of the meta, and that's the main problem with this. So yes, you do good against like the Sun teams a little bit, but then you just lose to Zacian, Ivelto, and Calyrex Shadow, and that's like the top 3. So that's not enough. So you could build a cool team with this, like maybe you can put Zacian on this, and then, you know, just round it out with like, you know, general stuff. But again, why would you use this when you can use like a Kyogre or a Groudon, right? To that extent. So, but it's still kind of cool that it has that ability to wall the sun. So for that reason, again, you have that niche, but not enough to make you better than, like, you know, the other ones. Okay, so another one. So this is Reshiram, right? So again, kind of like HoOh, where again, if you have the ability to counter Zacian and a lot of its partners, then you have some use. So where can I put this? I'm thinking like high B or low B. Are you better than Diago? This is a interesting one. I'm gonna say it's like a tie, right? I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it just a little bit ahead of Diago for now, and let's take a look why. So let's look at Reshiram here. So again, you have this bulk, right? Just like a lot of the bulkier restrictors, right? You know, base 100 defense, base 120 special defense. You're a special attacker, so you don't have to worry about Incineroar and Landorus. Charizard can't do that much to you, and then you could do something to Charizard right back because you get something like Ancient Power. And I remember when I did a collaboration with Suyu, right? He's a Korean VGC player. He had the Ancient Power tech on it, and it just destroyed Charizard. I remember in that video. So the fact that you can have this against Zard is also really, really nice. But then, of course, you know, you have like Blue Flare, Earth Power, and then something like Draco Meteor, and then you could put like an Assault Vest on this. But I kind of like the Life Orb on it, so maybe you can give up one of these and then just go like Protect. So you can give up your Rock move if you want, and then just go something like this. I think, you know, this is, again, very good against Zacian. You got Max Quake on your side. You know, Kyogre can't really do too much to Reshiram because, you know, you have that Dragon typing to help you out. You know, Rillaboom, Incin, Regieleki, these things can't do anything. They die to Reshiram. You can beat all of them. The Sun teams, you know, you could do like Reshiram Sun with like Venusaur and Groudon and your own Zard. I think that's kind of cool. Let me just get that on screen actually real quick. So something like this, where, you know, again, the Sun boys, you know, you're weak to, you know, ground typing, so you can swap into Charizard. You got a grass type, like a dominant grass type like Venusaur for Kyogre. You know, Groudon also can do well against Zacian, and then really all you have to patch up is your Calyrex Shadow matchup. So you could do something like this, you know, the same 5 that we did last time, and then, you know, this is not bad either. So, you know, Reshiram's got a niche. It's a very strong special attacker, and, you know, you could even do something like this. This is also another one that I was working on. Hold on, let me get this on screen, where like you had Reshiram and then Zacian, and then, you know, you could, I chose the all right, it doesn't matter. But then I did something like this, where you could do like Grim or then Blastoise. Okay, and then you could have like Rillaboom on here. So what is this? Dragon Steel, and then your Fire Water Grass is good, and then something like Landorus in the last slot. So like this is pretty cool. I think I was using this 6 a little bit. Solid, pretty good. I liked it a lot. So again, and you know, Zacian teams, they don't want to go against Reshiram, not that much. So I think for that reason, you know, you got to put in the B. It's good. It's a good one. I think it'll do well as the format progresses. And in the right hands, someone could really make Reshiram work, and I want to see it. If not me, hopefully someone else. Zekrom, yeah, again, it's good against Kyogre, a little bit, because, you're a dragon type, you can resist that water spout. You got an electric move to KO it right back. The problem is, Zacian. Yes, you can wall that Behemoth Blade a little bit, but, if they start running Play Rough, then you're in trouble. And the thing with Zekrom is, you're weak to Groudon, you're weak to Landorus, you get intimidated by Incineroar. And in a meta full of Intimidate and full of Sun teams, Zekrom is kind of hard to bring. And, maybe it could do well with something like... Actually, I don't even know if that would... Yeah, maybe you could do, like, coaching combos with Zamazenta. Alright, and that helps a little bit. But overall, it's just... you can choose... Why would you use Zekrom when you could do, like, Diago or Reshiram? In that regard. See, that's what I mean, right? Better options than what we got over here. But yeah, so he'll go in the C tier. Usable, I think it's not bad. You got that one niche against Kyogre, but that's about it. All right, this one, the Kyurem Black, the Behemoth Blade, the fact that you're just like Zekrom, the fact that you're weak to Intimidate spam and you're weak to rock moves, and then now you can't even wall certain things anymore because you have that ice typing, so Zacian just wrecks you. It's just not good. Don't even consider it. This one, on the other hand, the Kyurem White, all right, I think this is either this is definitely at least in the B tier, but I'm thinking either high B or low B. I think all right, I'm gonna change my opinion here. I think this can go here, and then we'll put Reshiram in the high B. So yes, you're weak to Zacian, unlike regular Reshiram. That's the main difference. That's why I separated these two. But look, have you seen Kyurem White's special attack stat? Kyurem White always just seems to find its way and do well in a meta, right? It's not amazing, but it's very good. I think it's solid. Look at this. Base 170 special attack and, base 95 speed. So you're faster than some of the other base 90 speed mons. So that's good. And then the bulk is good with the HP. And then if you just support it with Intimidate on your team, or even screens, I think it could do well. So you could do if you're weak to Zacian, just run a Sun team, and then you just counter that Zacian weakness. And then with the Sun core, then now you have a good answer to Kyogre as well. So if you just do the Sun 5, as I like to call it, the Sun 5. So Groudon, Venusaur, okay, Charizard, and then again Grimmsnarl, and then Incineroar. So look at this. Look at the Sun 5. Look, you've got answers to Zacian. These two, they can help you with Calyrex Shadow. Venusaur just flat out bodies Kyogre. All right, and then another one. You can change the weather for against Kyogre, and you're good against Groudon. So Kyurem does really well, because you have all the support. And if you can, in this case, I would give the Life Orb here, and then maybe put Goggles or Assault Vest on the Zard. But the point is, look at some of these moves it gets. You get Freeze Dry, so now you're hitting flying types. Yeah, you could even run Blizzard if you want. It really doesn't matter. Blizzard, you can run Earth Power, and now you got Draco Meteor as well, and then you can just run Protect. Okay. What else does this thing get? This thing also gets Ancient Power, so you could run even AV Kyurem if you want. And you could have that rock move and then put the Life Orb back on the Zard, and that's really nice. What else do you get? And you get that fire move if you want. So you could have oh, that's actually kind of good. So you could even run Fusion Flare, and then that gets boosted in the Sun, right? Because you have a Groudon. So that's actually kind of good too. So I'm not sure why I didn't think of this earlier. Oh, it even gets Icy Wind. Well, but we don't need to use that though. So, oh, Shadow Ball. Oh yeah, I remember this. Back in Series 8, what's his name? Febzy used Shadow Ball. So now you even have this tech against Calyrex Shadow. I wouldn't even run a Dragon move. I would just do this. Your Fire move, this. Because now if you max this, you get like max Phantasm, and then you get defense drops, and that helps your Groudon. Yeah, why wouldn't you do this? And then, of course, we got Fusion Flare. So you don't need your stat. You just run like Freeze Dry. I just like Freeze Dry more than Blizzard. Freeze Dry, Fusion Flare, or Earth Power, Shadow Ball, and then Protect. This is actually kind of cool. I think I might do a video on this. But yeah, for that reason, yeah, because you could do well with the Sun Boys, right? I think you're worthy of a B tier restricted. I think it's pretty good. All right, this is again one of those base forms. In fact, let's just get rid of the base forms right now. So let's just do this. Where's the other one? This one right here, and then of course this one, right? Okay, so that helps narrow down our pool a little bit. So now let's talk. Okay, so Xerneas, right? Again, it was a monster in Series 10, right? Because there was no Dynamax, and then when you got your Geomancy and then you clicked your fairy moves, you just one-shot everything. So I think now, because there's so much Zacian on every team, and because Dynamax lets you live certain moves, like Geomancy, Xerneas shenanigans, that just brings it down a lot. And then you didn't even see it in Series 11 at all, and I think it stays that way. I think you can still use it because you get another restricted. I think like, I think something like this, where you have like, yeah, you're weak to Zacian, right? So then again, why don't you just do like Zerndon, as someone might call it, Xerneas Groudon. And I think this is good. Maybe you don't use the Grimmsnarl anymore. Maybe you use something like a Regieleki, or you know, just some filler. You know, I don't know off the top of my head like if I would do this or not, but like, you know, something like this with like a filler, I think is pretty good. Maybe you can even put like Indeedee here, so then this way you can get some redirection, right? So, and then maybe you could, that also is pretty good with Groudon, because then you could set up Swords Dance, so that's not bad. I think something like this is okay, but again, you have better options for restricted if you're going to use something like this. So again, I think Zern Sun is not bad. It's usable. I would use it on ladder, but that's about it. Like, where else can I really use it? Maybe I can partner it with like another dragon restricted, so this way I can get a dragon and then focus on like another steel type. But then the non-steals are just not that good. The non-steel restricteds are just not that good at the moment. So it's a little hard to try and use this. But hey, Zerndon's pretty good. You know, I kind of like this 6. I might experiment, but again, I don't know. But at least it's, see, I don't think it's bad as like Mewtwo or Lugia or even Kyurem Black. I think it's at least better than that, but definitely in the C tier it is. I think it's, yeah, all right, you're better than this, right? Let me put it like over here. I think this is fair. Yeah, that's all right. All right, moving on. All right, so now we got what I like. This is Ivelto, you know, and for me, I like it ahead of Groudon. I'm not gonna lie. I really like Ivelto. So let me get rid of all of this. All right, let's talk about Ivelto. So remember, Ivelto is, you know, the kind of restricted that's a little different than that in it, how it functions than some of the others. You're not meant to do like insane damage. Your job is to sit there and weaken the opponent, so that way your other Pokemon can deal the big damage and stay on the field, because that's what you're supposed to be doing as an Ivelto. So I really like this set, you know, with the Ivelto, with, you know, Oblivion Wing, the Snarl, the Sucker Punch, and even the Foul Play. There's some other stuff out there, you know, with Weakness Policy. You know, you could run like Life Orb with Ivelto as well. I think those other two items are good. With stuff like Heat Wave or Dark Pulse, I think those are good on those kinds of sets. But you know, I think from even like the Sun team that Joe UX9 used, right? What was it? It was like Groudon, and then it was the Sun 5, right? Again, so that's what I mean. Like, why would you use like Xerneas or like Lunala and that stuff when you could just use Eveldon? Like, Ivelto is just so good. Like, this restricted in itself counters Calyrex Shadow. You don't have to like dig through your Showdown build and be like, okay, what counters Calyrex Shadow? You have it. You have it in Ivelto, right? So, and again, you can get those special defense drops and help your special attackers do well. So like I mentioned, Ivelto, Diago, I think that works pretty well. That's not too bad. But are there better ones? Yeah. So like you could do Ivelto, Kyogre, right? So you can, you know, go for max airstream, make your Kyogre faster, go for special defense drops with max darkness, and Kyogre capitalizes off of that. The only thing now is you have to be careful of the electric weakness with like Regieleki, but you know, you as long as you stick something like Landorus or even like Raichu on something like this, I don't know, but you know, specific niche mons for that reason. But I think Ivelto Kyogre is really, really good. I think Ivelto Groudon is really, really good. Joe proved it when he did really well with it in the tours. But the one that I like, oh, even this, yeah, I think he did it like this. And then you could do like Eveltozation. That's another good one. And the one I really like is this one. And I won't say too much now because I want to save it for that video. I really like this combination where you have like Ivelto, Solgaleo, and you know, anytime you can, you know, Dynamax Solgaleo and go for those max Steel Spike, max Quake defense boost and special defense boost, and then buff your Ivelto, so that way it really, really just sits there and clicks Oblivion Wing all day, recovering and clicking Snarl and weakening everything all day. I think that's really, really good. So I like this combination. This is my favorite kind of combo if I had to use Ivelto plus another restricted. But more on that when we get to the team building videos. But yeah, like that's the benefit of Ivelto, right? You're good against Calyrex Shadow. You're good with Kyogre. And the only thing you have to worry about is your Zacian matchup, but then you just stick like Incineroar and Landorus on the team and you're fine. And again, special attackers really, really like Ivelto because you can capitalize from those special defense drops. So yeah, A restricted, that's where it belongs. I think it's good. This one, Zygarde. So this is another interesting one. Like it's better than these guys, right? But of course, not as good as these guys. And the problem with Zygarde is, besides the Intimidate support, you know, it needs setup to get going. Like it has to get those coil boosts to really do damage. And even after one coil boost, it's still not that good of a damage dealer. So, you know, it needs some help. And I'm sad I didn't get to put out a video for this before he did, but I know Moxie, he did, what was it? Zamazenta Zygarde. I was actually looking at that for a while before, and I know it works really well. Look, you got a Dragon type, you got a Steel type. You know, if you just put something like this with Grimmsnarl screens and just be bulky, or then you can do something like, you could put something like Lapras as an aggressive screen setter. I think that's pretty good. But yeah, the thing with like base 100 attack, it's not that good, right? It's not bad, it's just not that great. So it really needs a lot of boost going, and if you could go for like the coaching stuff with Zamazenta, then you know, then it can do well a little bit, and then you just have to support it against everything else. So you might even like put this on like the Sun team. I think he did do that, right, with like Venusaur and Torkoal. So I would consider that, and for that reason, because it can do well on a Sun team with Zamazenta, I think that's the main niche that those two have. So I'm gonna put it here in the C tier. I think it's better than these guys. I think it's fair to put it here. And then for that same reason, well, now we might as well just do it. Let's look at Zamazenta here. So again, you have a cool set here where you can go for like Behemoth Bash, and then close combat, so you can snipe Incineroars, and then coaching, and then you could have Wide Guard. You know, that's pretty good against, you know, a lot of the spread movers. But you know, top level opponents will try and play around that, and then you just end up wasting a move. So then something like Snarl is actually much better. And one thing this thing also gets, I forgot to mention, it has it here. You could even do like Helping Hand Zamazenta. That's actually kind of cool. But I saw it here. Oh, it gets screens. That's kind of interesting. Where is it? I saw it. I want to look for it. Oh, this. Yeah, this. It gets Scary Face. Remember how I love Scary Face on Grimmsnarl? Zamazenta gets Scary Face. This is actually kind of interesting. I think this can work on certain types of teams and in certain niche roles. Again, it has that one specific niche role, right? But I think this is kind of cool, Scary Face. But Snarl is something that's picking up. But then, yeah, you could pair this with something like HoOh. And then have HoOh get the damage and the defense boost. That's pretty good. you could get, you know, something, not double steal, some other like strong, who's actually good here that can benefit off of it. Not Kyurem, that's not good. Not Groudon. Yeah, that's basically, oh wait, this thing, Rayquaza. Okay, so like a dragon and a steel type. So okay, and then you get that flying typing from Rayquaza to help against the ground weakness. So that's not too bad. But again, you know, can I win a game on ladder with it? Sure. Can I win tournament? Maybe not. I think it'll be really hard. But yeah, at least it's kind of cute in that regard. So yeah, let's just put it over here. Where is it? Why would you use this when you could just use Zacian, as anyone else would say? But it's got a cool role with the coaching stuff, so I think, dang, where can I put it? I think here is fair. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. All right, this one, Solgaleo. All right, so where am I gonna put you? I think this goes here. Yeah, I really like Solgaleo. Again, I was mentioning it earlier. Where, you know, steel types are hard to come by if you're not a restricted. There's just not that many good steals, and the fact that this one is really good is actually very beneficial. So full metal body, so you can't get intimidated, and as a steel type, a physical one, that's really good. And then you're a clear candidate for weakness policy, and it's something like Sun Steel. That's Sunny Day. I didn't even know it got Sunny Day. Sun Steel Strike, and then Earthquake, and Protect in that last slot, and then some other move here, a coverage move. That's really good. So something like Solgaleo Kyogre is something that I like a lot. And you know, if you have Tornadus here, you know, of course that helps Kyogre, but then you also have something like Brutal Swing, where, you know, you can also have, you know, you break Sash against the opponent first of all, and then you activate weakness policy, and then you throw in Kyogre to neutralize that fire weakness against the Sun teams, right? Because you're just gonna get smashed by Charizard, so you have the Kyogre for that, and now your Solgaleo is looking pretty good. And again, max Steel Spike, max Quake, very strong. You're good. You could deal a lot of damage to Xerneas. You could do, and if you're running like a rock move for say, you know, Rock Slide, you can deal a lot to, you know, Ivelto, the flying mons. You could deal a lot to Reshiram. I know it's a fire type, but that's why you have Kyogre. Dialga's another one you could do some big damage to when you get that weakness policy off, and Dialga can't really do too much unless it has Flamethrower or Earth Power, but even then you're just activating the policy and then it just dies, and none of these guys are going to beat Solgaleo. Maybe HoOh again, but you have Kyogre. So yeah, I really like that Solgaleo Tornadus Kyogre comp. You could even run like Solgaleo, I mentioned this earlier, Ivelto, right? And again, just you could boost your Ivelto with those defense and special defense boosts. I think that's also really good. And you could do, what else can you do? You could even do, can you do this? Even with like Calyrex Shadow? Yeah, so the only thing you have to be aware of is your Calyrex Shadow matchup, right? So as long as you got like Instant or Grimmsnarl on your team, but this is why you have Ivelto, right? So you can counter that weakness, and that's why it works. That's why I like it a lot. But yeah, that's my take on Solgaleo. I think it's really strong. It does a lot of damage against a lot of these mons, and it can't really take too much damage back. And you always have Ivelto, and you know, you got your intimidators like Instant Ivelto is really good, and then you know that helps Solgaleo a lot. But yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's gonna get even better as the format progresses, because it just does well. Oh, another combo I want to mention that I've been looking at. This one, Pakia Solgaleo. Like, if you remember my Pakia Metagross team in Series 11, yeah, why not just replace Solgaleo with Metagross? It's just a better Metagross. Like, we forget that. But yeah, it's just literally a better Metagross. Better speed tier with this base 97. You're faster than a lot of things after +1, whereas Metagross really struggled with that low speed, and your bulk is very good. So, and you can't get intimidated just like Metagross. So for that reason, you know, to me, it's always been one of my favorites. And even though I'm not being biased, but like the fact that it does well with Kyogre, does well with Pakia, does well, you know, with some other mons here. But these are like lesser restricteds. But yeah, that's enough merit for me to put it in the A tier. All right, so now Lunala. Okay, so I like it in here in this low B tier. I think that's where it is. And I'm looking at this list right now. I think where can I put some things here? You know, all right, I'm gonna move Diago above a little bit. Yeah, I think it actually is a high B. Now that I keep thinking more about Diago, and the more I think, the more I like it. I'm putting it in high B. It's like on the border between like high B and low B, but I think it's pretty good. But anyway, Lunala, I think it's a low B. I think it does well with something like this, with Groudon. So that's why it's called Lunadon, where you have like Lunala, Groudon, the Sun 5 with like Venusaur, Zard, and then, you know, Incin, and then Grimmsnarl, right? So you have to be really careful with your Calyrex Shadow matchup whenever you have Lunala, right? But the thing is, the way you want to use Lunala is, you know, you can Dynamax it and get those defense drops going against Groudon, you know, with something like Moongeist. That's Moonblast. Hold on. Moongeist Beam is pretty good. And then you have something like, you don't need the Psychic Stab. I think that's not needed. You get like Trick Room. That's Trick. But the Power Herb set with Meteor Beam. So this way you can snipe other Incineroars. I think that's good. And then you can run Protect here, or you can even run the recovery move, which is Moonlight, where you can heal a lot of your health based on weather. So if you're on a Groudon Sun team, you can heal back to full and get your Shadow Shield back, which is actually very, very important if you can keep your Shadow Shield. But yeah, you don't want to take like Calyrex, Shadow, Astro Barrage, so you kind of need Incineroar and Grimmsnarl for this. But you have your answers to Kyogre, you have your answers to Zacian. You can destroy Calyrex Ice teams with Moongeist Beam. You can destroy Calyrex Shadow right back also, if you can get your Trick Room up. And this is where like you can run like, you know, a slower Groudon and really capitalize off of Trick Room. And, you know, it's good against Tailwind teams too. So I really like Lunala on a team like this, you know. And again, this is why we always say, well, why use this when you can do this, right? This is what I mean. Why use that when you can do that? Or why use this when you can use this? Ivelto, right? Eveldon, as it's also commonly called. But hey, it's still pretty cool. It still has that niche. With Power Herb, you can destroy Charizard, you can snipe Incineroars. You get access to Trick Room, you get access to Wide Guard if you want to use it. It's a good supportive secondary restricted, and I think that's how you have to kind of use Lunala. So for that, you know, it's good, it's viable, it's very nice with that Sun team. So I put it there in the low B. Alright, this one, I think it's, you know, it's like a worse Solgaleo. It's got the same kind of, you know, job as Solgaleo, you know, those max Steel Spike, max Quake boost, but you don't get Clear Body and you get Intimidate cycled all the time. So that's why I have it. That's what the C tier is called. It's usable, but you have better options. Like, why use this when you can use Solgaleo? That's my thing. So for that, I put it in the C. Like, it's still kind of good. You know, it's a high C. I could almost argue it's a low B, but I think, you know, because you do get Trick Room. You know, but I think this is where it belongs. Like, are you better than, you know, Reshiram or Diago? No. So, you know, I kind of have to put you down there in the C tier. This one, again, you know, why use this when you can use Lunala? I think for the same reason. Again, it can do well. I don't know. Where can I put this? I think it's like here. Because let's look at this. Let me remove this. Like Dawn Wings, right? You have more bulk than Lunala, right? But you don't get Shadow Shield. You do get Prism Armor though, but I don't know if that's as good as Shadow Shield, right? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you know, you are slower. You do get a better Trick Room kind of job than Lunala. and you do more damage with Meteor Beam power. So there's that. I think it's usable. You know, maybe if you have like Torkoal instead, and then you have something like a Zacian somewhere here. Yeah, probably like this. Maybe something like this. But even then, like, it's just not as good as some of the other Sun compositions. So, you know, I could, you know, Trick Room, good. Power Herb, good. But yeah, I like Lunala better than that thing. All right, here we go. Zacian, there's no doubt about it. The Sword Dog is the best of the best, right? Here, let me just put this here. So this is like, again, when you're team building just like Kyogre, this is one of those things where you have to counter. How do you stop Sun? How do you stop Kyogre? How do you stop Zacian? Because this is what commands the meta. This dog. If you cannot stop this dog, your team just, I don't want to say auto loses. Like, you're just gonna have to play really, really, really good if you have like no answer to this thing. Like base 170 attack, +1 when you enter battle, 148 speed, 115 in the defenses. Like, I don't know what Nintendo was thinking when they made this mon, but it's so good. And you know, the fact that now with all the dragons and the Iveltos coming out, the fact that you can do something like this where you can run your fairy stab, so now you're even stronger. And then now you have you can put this on anything. This is what is splashable on any team comp, right? Like, if you want to make your team better, just add Zacian, and now your team is instantly better. You know, it's kind of like, you know, a trading card game where if you have something that's splashable and then it just makes any deck better, it's one of the best cards in the game. Same thing in Pokemon. If you have a Pokemon that is splashable and it just makes your team better, then it's one of the best Pokemon in the game. So you could do like Kyogre Zacian, right? You could do Kyogre Groudon. You could do Kyogre whatever dragon restricted is out there. Like this thing can go on any kind of team, and it can do well. And it deals so much damage. It cleans up from the back. Like, after your other Dynamax mons have done the job, have chipped everything, this thing comes in and then just clicks Behemoth Blade and kills everything. So yeah, of course, this is what commands the meta, Zacian. And then we have these three left. So Eternatus, like, I wish it was good. It's kind of like Zacian. Again, you can't Dynamax it, so you can preserve your Dynamax slot. And, you know, with Dynamax Cannon, I think it's pretty good. But, you know, other than that, you know, the poison typing makes you weak to ground moves. In theory, like, the stats are not bad at all. Like, base 130 speed, base 145 special attack. You know, this is actually not a bad mon. It's just, you know, it's just not as good as some of your Kyogres and Groudons and Calyrexes, right? So what else can you get here? You don't even get Earth Power. You get Flamethrower though, so that's kind of good against Zacian. You know, this thing gets Flash Cannon. That's kind of cool. Gets Shadow, but again, you can't Dynamax this. Like, if you could Dynamax this would be pretty good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. I wouldn't run like a Cosmic Power set on this in the Dynamax format. There's no reason to. It was good in Series 10, but not now. And, you know, but it's not as bad as like Mewtwo and these guys. But, you know, for that reason, again, are you better than Reshiram, Diago, Pakia, Solgaleo? No. So I'm just gonna put it like right here. I think it's better than some of these other ones, but I think it's just not as good as some of the higher C tier restricted mons. I think even this is too high. I think I might put this like right here. Yeah, I think this is okay. Okay, so these guys. So Calyrex Ice, this to me, this is an A tier mon. Where can I put this? I think I can put it right here. Yeah, I think Calyrex Ice is really, really strong, and the fact that you can Dynamax this is another reason why it's just broken. Like, broken Glacial Lance. The And then Trick Room mode with this speed tier, like 165 base attack is ridiculous. And again, you can Dynamax this. You can run a weakness policy on it. You can run a Life Orb set to make it deal even more damage. You can even run AV and get more coverage out of it. But then the fact that you could just do like this, you know, take away the fire weakness, take away the steel weakness with Kyogre. I think this is like the best kind of comp for it. I think this is really good. Yeah, you're weak to Zacian, so you could do like the Sun comp with Calyrex Groudon, and then do like Venusaur, and then you know, you could do Incineroar, and then you could do like Mimikyu on this, and then some filler that I can't think of right now, but like, you know, Instant Mimikyu with Calyrex, and then, you know, Venusaur Groudon, you know, with the Sun power. You know, I think this is good, you know, especially against Zacian. So there's that. So, and again, the fact that you have as one, you get Chilling Neigh and Unnerve, so you take away their berries, and then you just steamroll with every KO. It commands a lot of attention, and it can just sweep teams turn one if you're not prepared. So for that reason, you know, you are an A tier. You are very splashable. It does well with Kyogre, does well with Zacian, does well with Groudon. You could even put it on like a Pakia team. You know, it's really good in Trick Room, so there's that as well. So it's very, very strong. It's always been strong. So for that, yeah, I put it up there. Now this one, and this one might be a hot take. Calyrex Shadow, I think, yeah, it should be A. But I'm gonna put it in a high B. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I'm gonna put it in a high B. And you might say, how do you put Solgaleo, Palkia in A, but Calyrex in B? I'll tell you why. So the thing is with like these Calyrex Shadow teams, you know, they're very hyper offensive, and you know, which is good. You know, you got all that speed tier, and you know, you put a lot of pressure with, you know, if you have like a Life Orb set, you know, if you have Astro Barrage, if you have like a Psychic move, or you know, you have this. Some are even running like Seed Bomb. Not Seed Bomb. That was the Calyrex Ice. That's what I should have mentioned back then. It gets Seed Bomb, but like something like this, and then you have Substitute, and then Protect. This is a standard moveset. This thing even gets Nasty Plot. So even if you have like Redirection with Clefairy, for example, where like Spectre Clefairy was a thing, now you have like Nasty Plot, which is something I did in Series 11. This is actually pretty cool. But I think Calyrex with Kyogre is really nice, because now you have, you know, that hyper offensive core. You know, you could have something like either Whimsicott, or you could have something like Tornadus here. And again, if you have like other physical monsters, take advantage of those defense drops. That's really, really good. But yeah, what else do you get here? You even get like a single target move, so this way you can avoid like Wide Guard, but that's still fine. Oh yeah, Psyshock, that's the other move that you can get besides Expanding Force. But the point is, again, just like Calyrex Ice, you can steamroll teams, and you know, you command so much pressure turn one. Like, you're forcing your opponent to lead something turn one, so this way they don't get swept with Astro Barrage, right? And that's why you're like high up there. But the problem is, when you're team building, a lot of teams have like hard answers to Calyrex Shadow, and it's so frail. Like Instant just walls this. Grimmsnarl walls this. You know, you pin it with Sucker Punch, right? Where is Grimmsnarl? Let me put that on the board here. So like Instant, right? Grimmsnarl, they wall this thing. And then Ivelto is so much more common now. You know, these three just, you know, they just destroy Calyrex Shadow. And you know, stuff like Rillaboom, where if they're Assault Vest, now they're running, you know, stuff like Knockoff. And then this other thing, this one's also popping out now. Some teams, like with those Zacian comps, you know, they're running like Assault Vest, Blastoise, and now they have Dark Pulse on it. You know, that's for Calyrex. So like a lot of things have dark moves on here. Every good team has like a strong Calyrex Shadow check, and if even one of those checks hits you, it just dies. Like, you can't even live it. So, you know, for that reason, you know, I'm still putting it high, but I think it's like, I want to put it as an A tier, right? I really do, but I think it's just a B tier. And you know, the fact that You know, you can't really, it's not really flexible in Trick Room. Like, it gets Trick Room, it gets Tailwind, but it's just so frail, and a lot of teams just have so many answers to it now that it just dies. But again, it still commands a lot of offensive pressure, and it can sweep teams. It does well with, it does okay with Zacian, right? I've been trying it, and it's like, it's okay. It's not as good as some of the other comps, where like you could put it on like Kyogre teams. You can even put it on, what I like is this with Groudon, because now the Groudon can take advantage, and you have double spread move, just like with Kyogre, with Astral Barrage and Precipice Blade. So that I like, you know. But other than that, it's very good. I just think it just gets countered by a lot of things now, based on what people are teching on their team. So yeah, this is the kind of tier list that I have. So this might be a hot take. The Solgaleo Pakia might be an interesting choice to put in the A tier, but we have a lot of C tiers, a lot of things that used to be in D tier, but now because you get a second restricted slot, you can bump them up to C, where now they're a little bit viable, but again, just not as good as some of these B and A tier options. And yeah, this is it. So without, you know, doing too much team building, that's what I think. So let me know what you think in the comments below. But yeah, that's our tier list. Until next time, we'll be back with more team building and team fixing videos. Have a good one. See ya.